Spoilers for Spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. I'm just gonna say the whole name every time. I'm not gonna go through the whole story in this video. Instead, I wanna focus on a single 3-minute scene in this 25-hour-long game that I think has been pretty widely misinterpreted. It's the scene with the zebra and why the zebra is not a cat. It's pretty well known by now that The Last of Us Part 2 has two protagonists. There's Ellie on her feel-good smile-time revengeance adventure, and there's Abby and her eventual redemption through a single act of kindness after many acts of unkindness. So to give a brief summary leading up to this scene, the world has been overtaken by a virus that has the dual effect of turning people into mushroom zombies and crashing the truffle economy. The cure may be in Ellie's brainstem when she doesn't turn into porcini after being bitten. Joel door dashes her across the country to the Fireflies, who may be able to bring back humanity's appetite for white truffle pizza and save them by making a cure or whatever. Joel, quote unquote, rescues his surrogate daughter when he learns the operation will kill her, lies about it to Ellie by saying they didn't need her after all and they're totally all still alive. And she accepts that lie, though we can see she has follow-up questions that she chooses not to follow up on at this time. Part 2 opens with Joel admitting to his brother Tommy
Just have to kill a lot of people!
Gives Ellie a guitar after playing an Eddie Vedder cover. Fast forward 4 years later, Ellie is no longer on speaking terms with Joel for reasons heretofore unknown. Abby kills Joel for other reasons heretofore unknown. Ellie travels to Seattle with Dina, where they track down and unfriend members of Abby's social network, which puts Ellie through physical and psychological hell, especially after using a curiously blunt pen nib to cross one name off of her death list. After learning Dina is pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's child and killing a pregnant woman herself, Ellie finally says enough's enough and decides to return home, but...
Hands in the air, I shoot this one too. I know why you killed Joel.
We let you both live.
And you wasted it.
After spending 10 plus hours walking in Ellie's vintage Chuck Taylors, we then switch protagonists and follow Abby as a younger, less Sarah Connored version of herself as she searches for her dad. When she finds him, they track down and locate the zebra, trapped in razor-sharp barbed wire that cuts deeper into its flesh the more it tries to jerk itself free. At great risk to themselves, Abby and her father manage to get the zebra loose, where it quickly rejoins its newborn calf. We then cut to that night and learn that Abby's dad is one of the doctors with whom Joel forcefully disputed Ellie's health coverage. Now, I've heard two different theories on what purpose the zebra serves in this scene. The most common theory is that this is a save the cat moment, or the scene where we meet the hero and the hero does something, like saving a cat, that defines who they are and makes us, the audience, like them. Similar to Mr. Incredible helping an old lady get her cat out of the tree in The Incredibles. While it's true that in most cases you do want to get the audience on the protagonist's side as soon as possible, the problem with the zebra being a cat is that we've already been introduced to Abby, and this was how the writers Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross chose to make her introductions. No writer worth one's salt could possibly think the audience would be on Abby's side after one 3-minute cutscene, and Neil Druckmann wrote 2 of the most narratively sound games of all time. His salt has worth. In fact, Druckmann and Gross give Abby not just one 3-minute cutscene, but roughly 240 3-minute cutscenes worth of time to gradually earn our sympathy and hopefully our empathy. Others have argued that this is not Abby's moment to save the cat, but her father's, to show he's a good-natured man who didn't deserve to be removed from St. Mary's board of directors. This also underscores how wrong Joel was to murder him and how justified Abby was to murder him. I'd counter that the writers never made bones about the fact that what Joel did wasn't a terrible act. The first game ends with Joel lying about it. The second game begins with Joel admitting to it while looking like this.
What do? I saved her.
Before switching over to Abby's perspective, we even watch Ellie discover the truth for herself in a flashback, which destroys her relationship with Joel for the next several years, and explains why she isn't talking to him at the beginning of the game. Having Abby's dad save the cat before Joel murders him mere hours later doesn't get us on Abby's dad's side. We really should already be there. Yet, interestingly enough, the writers have reposition the audience to be diametrically opposed to Abby's side. What I'm saying is, saving one zebra is not going to cut enough emotional mustard for us to be in her corner or to even view her differently. So no, the zebra is not a cat. But if it's not a cat, then what is it? You know, besides a zebra. The second theory I've heard comes from Wolf of Thorn's video, The Giraffe and Zebra Connection Foreshadows Everything, in which he argues that the zebra is a darkened version of The Last of Us Part 1's giraffe scene. He also goes into the maiden and the unicorn archetype and how the maiden heals society, but if the unicorn's injured, then society's fucked. Which it kind of is, or at least Abby's society is. Thanks to Joel. It's a good video, link in the description. What stands out to me though is his claim that the zebra is foreshadowing for what's to come, which I think is closer to the mark, but not quite there. At this point in the story, we don't quite know yet that Joel's responsible for orphaning Abby and her orphaning Ellie in return. So the zebra could symbolize the mental anguish Abby's about to experience in a few hours' time. Abby then spends the next 5 years turning herself into a well-oiled murder machine, sacrificing all relationships with friends and loved ones until the day finally comes when she can get her bloody revenge and...
post-homicidal depression.
Killing Joel doesn't make her feel complete. She still wakes up from nightmares, and her relationships are even more damaged after their extreme team-building exercise.
I haven't always done the right thing.
You're a piece of Abby.
Abby is still trapped in that hallway at St. Mary's Hospital. Much like a zebra tangled up in barbed wire. So far, so foreshadowing, right? But here's where I think the symbolism goes beyond Abby's grief and to something else entirely. It's important to note that the scene ends with Abby and her father freeing the zebra. I believe this is an expression of The Last of Us Part 2's theme or controlling idea, which is the story's ultimate meaning expressed through the action and aesthetic emotion of the last act's climax. So the climax is when Abby finds Ellie at their hideout, but to fully understand Abby's perspective, we have to go over the sequence of events leading up to her arrival. Abby runs into Yara and Lev, two Seraphites, or Scars, that are bitter enemies with her own faction, the WLF, who currently fight for control over Seattle. Rather than kill each other, they rely on one another to survive a night best described as eventful. Abby has sex with her ex-boyfriend Owen, even though he's now with her friend Mel, who's pregnant with his child.
You're a piece of
This scene really confused a lot of people, which I don't quite get.
Sir, they're still naked!
Well, check every 5 quintons and tell me when they're not.
In fact, I might even make a video explaining why these two have sex. Shout me out in the comments if you want to see a video of me explaining why these two have sex. It's not just in there to, you know, tick a box on a 15-step beat sheet. Abby grows attached to Yara and Lev. Lev in particular, as she learns they left their cult when Lev cut his hair and no longer identified as a girl, which the cultists did not accept. It's important to note that the skyscraper sequence, wherein you fight through many Scars who insist on dead-naming Lev, is the only time in the game where it's okay to dehumanize your human opponents.
Damn, feels kind of good when there's no guilt, huh?
Yeah, it's like in Star Wars!
Yeah, just like in Star Wars. Go nuts!
When the WLF plan an assault on the Seraphite home base, Abby chases after Lev, who wants to warn his mother of the attack. She extends her thanks in the form of a knife by trying to kill Lev for living his truth. Lev kills her in self-defense. Abby quietly quits out loud when her boss tries to shoot Lev, and Yara dies heroically. Abby and Lev escape the assault after an almost cartoonishly graphic boss fight, and decide to leave for California to find the remaining Fireflies and resume work on a cure for the virus. Thanks to Lev, she has found someone and something to live for, which might finally get her out of the hallway in St. Mary's. Then Abby learns all her friends are dead and finds a map leading to the movie theater where Ellie and Dina are holed up. So we return to the climax, which, I gotta say, made me feel a whole lot of conflicting emotions. You control Abby as you fight a very evasive Ellie who sets traps and sucker punches you from the shadows. I personally didn't want either of these two to win. I wanted them to just hug it out and realize that they had much more in common than not, which really is the whole point. You're supposed to feel this way. It's the whole point of the game. However, Abby gets the upper hand when she breaks Ellie's arm and holds a knife to Dina's throat. Abby could kill Ellie and Dina, and almost does, except Lev interferes.
Abby!
here's where the thematic symbolism of the zebra fully comes to light. Quite often, the theme is encapsulated not only across the entire film, but in one brief, symbolic moment early in the story. Abby, caught up in her grief, is like the zebra trapped in barbed wire, inflicting more pain on itself with each misguided attempt to get free. I think my dog just sighed. She pushes everyone away to pursue revenge until she gets what she thought she wanted, but remains isolated and unhappy. It takes someone else outside of her situation to help free her from herself. Abby and her dad free the zebra. Lev frees Abby. Abby chooses not to kill Ellie and Dina. She and Lev leave for California. Ellie and Dina return home to raise their child. The cycle of violence has been broken. There's an old saying that comes to mind. When you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras. Allow me to rephrase that for the purposes of this video. When you see zebras, think open yourself to others rather than enclose yourself in grief, not cats. Well, here I was saying I wasn't going to go over the entire story, and I just kind of had to anyway, all because of this darn zebra. But that's the thing about good writing. Every little bit contributes to the greater whole. I haven't even touched on most of Ellie's story, how she's a darkened version of the theme, or even the several hour-long epilogue in which Ellie can't let her revenge go, re-hunts Abby down to California where she and Lev have been captured, enslaved, tortured, and left for dead by a local faction. Ellie takes down the entire faction and discovers Abby and Lev. Seeing the hell they've already been put through, Ellie finally shows Abby compassion by cutting her down, again like the zebra. Only that was a lie. Ellie still can't let it go, holds a knife to Lev's throat, forces Abby into a final boss fight complete with QTE button prompts because video games, and stops herself moments before drowning Abby because she flashes back to a conversation she had with Joel the night before he died. This almost ruins the story right at the very end. I mean, I still choked up because I did not want Abby to die, but the prompts, the button prompts, they just kept telling me to push the knife in deeper. I had to follow the prompts. This fight is just what are you doing, Ellie? Why are you doing this? Friends, I got a little worked up at the end there, but I think The Last of Us Part 2 is definitely worth your time. It's not a perfect game, but after The Last of Us Part 1 and Uncharted 4, two all-time greats, I think Neil Druckmann earned the right to make something more experimental and bolder, that tries some interesting things that don't always land. I might do another video focused on Ellie, how she's a darkened version of the theme, and how the theme really is more than just killing is bad. We'll see though, since I've currently got 60 gigs of a Last Guardian playthrough that I want to get to. If you like this video, maybe think about subscribing or sharing it with someone. I'd love to keep making these, and your support does make a difference. Thank you for watching, and until next time.